Canby City Council regular meeting for January 15th, 2014. If you will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing for a moment of silence. Great, thank you. Okay, I want to thank everyone for coming and Happy New Year. This is the first City Council meeting of the new year. And the only one this month due to where the holidays fell this year. We just completed a work session this evening regarding creating ballot language for a referral to the voters regarding our civic building that we're discussing. And so I want to thank the council for the tremendous work there the last hour and a half working on that. So really do appreciate the work on that, and staff as well. Thank you, Joe, for that. So next on the agenda is a proclamation. Very exciting one, I might add. It is the Canby Ferry Centennial Celebration Year. So the proclamation goes as follows. Whereas the Canby Ferry began taking travelers across the Willamette River between Canby and Wilsonville in 1914, and whereas the Canby Ferry is one of only 3 remaining ferries in the state of Oregon where there were once hundreds of ferries, and whereas the Canby Ferry provides year-round transportation service to commuters, businesses, tourists, bicyclists, pedestrians, and area residents 7 days a week from 6:45 a.m. to 9:15 p.m. And whereas community support for the Canby Ferry remains strong, as shown by the results of a 2012 survey of ferry riders and the general public, in which more than 90% of the respondents urged the county to continue operating the ferry and supported increased fares to do so. And whereas the Canby Ferry is both living history and a modern, practical way for people to travel quickly and inexpensively across the Willamette River, and whereas this year marks the 100th anniversary of the first Canby Ferry crossing in 1914, the Department of Transportation and Development is partnering with Public and Government Affairs, Tourism and Culture Affairs, the Canby Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Canby to commemorate this historic milestone with special events and programs throughout 2014. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hodson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Canby, do hereby proclaim the year 2014 to be Canby Ferry Centennial Celebration Year in the City of Canby, and do urge all those in the Canby area to support and promote this historic celebration. Given unto my hand this 15th day of January 2014 in the City of Canby, Oregon. And I believe we have a representative here from the county to accept this.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. That's for you. If you want to take a moment and tell us kind of what things might be planned for the year that you know of, and the importance of our ferry.
Well, on behalf of Clackamas County and the Board of County Commissioners, I think it's this year both of us proclaiming the Canby Ferry proclamation is the start of the season. We're planning on doing something every month. We're working with Bev Doolittle with the Chamber, and we have a committee formed that we're scheduling things. We don't have a set schedule yet, but our main goal is to have something for the week of the fair in August as our big day or big event. So we're in the planning stages with that and looking forward to working with the city and with the Chamber and with Clackamas County to make this eventful celebration.
Well, thank you for this. This is a great deal.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe, thank you to Councilor Parker, but County Director of Transportation, is it Barb Cartmill? Would you like to come up and say a few words as well?
Sure. Come on. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, as Terry has said, we, last week, our board did a similar proclamation and gave some statistics. I was very excited. I was reviewing your mayor's panel here. It was very impressive, and noticed Philander Lee, a couple of names that I was tossing around when we did our proclamation, that the ferry itself is named after some of your very notable historians, historic representatives. So, again, as Terry alluded to, we've got monthly activities planned. We're really very excited. There's some great pictures and information. It brings history to the forefront, and we're very proud to have Terry operating or managing the ferry and just kind of embracing what we've always known as out there. It's kind of just a little bit different way to travel, actually.
Well, it's definitely a gem for our community, and I know for Clackamas as a county as a whole. So we appreciate all the work that's gone in to keep it operating. I know that has been challenging at times to do so, but we really do appreciate all that you guys do to keep that going and keep that a part of our culture and our history. So thank you. Is there any other?
Barb, I really appreciate this. I'm liaison to the bicycle committee here, and bicyclists love the ferry. And we're thinking about ways that we can further promote bicycling and bicycle tours, and also encouraging our tourism and economic development from that. So I understand you've put your best staff person on the promotions and communication on that. Is that correct?
We do. We have an excellent representative from Public and Government Relations. She's actually housed in Transportation and Development. She's with us here today, Ellen Rogelin. And
Thanks, Ellen.
she's gotten us all to this point, actually,
Yes, she
so
has.
far. And like I said, has some good ideas. And I appreciated your suggestion about the bike tour, so we'll certainly take that under advisement.
That'll be good. Well, thank you both very, very much.
Our
I look
pleasure.
forward to the year.
Nice to see you.
I would like to make one more pitch.
Yes.
We're looking for old photographs and new photographs of the Canby Ferry, and we're asking people to either drop them off at the chamber or the Canby Herald, and we will use them for that. We're also looking for a 2009 Geo coin. It has a picture of the Canby Ferry on it. If someone out there would like to donate one, we'd put it to good use if we could get our hands on one of those. So that's what we're looking for, is
Yeah.
pictures and a Geo coin.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely get that word out, and I know the Canby Historical Society, there's a couple of pictures on display over there of the ferry from, I'm not sure if it's all the way back 100 years, but it's pretty darn close.
Actually, I didn't think to bring a copy with us, but there's a doozy that Ms. Doolittle got for us from 1914 that has
okay.
horses on it when it was still a horse-drawn
That's the one I was-
vehicle. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. Somebody, again, Ellen, who did the upgrade of the picture? At the
That
newspaper?
had it done for us, somebody in Canby.
Somebody in Canby was able to take the old sort of dark photo and lighten it, and you can really see the characters on it. It's a really good photo. I'll make sure one gets sent over to you folks.
That'd be great.
Well, if you've seen it at the museum or something, you probably saw it. We're really happy about it.
I'll be in big trouble with Mom if I don't have a very gratuitous brag.
Absolutely, you need to.
The first ferry in 1914 was purchased from the city of Newburgh, and it was the old horse-drawn and river current paddle wheel. But when Canby decided they wanted their own gas-powered one, that was in 1917, my great-great-great uncle, Frank Dodge, is the one that built that, and the Historical Society has the model of that one, and I think we've got a couple pictures. So I'll see what I can find.
Well,
If
that would
he-
be perfect.
And if he built it, it came in $22 under the estimate.
Yes.
So you should take pride in that.
I'll take 5 minutes.
Long history of...
Long history of conservative spending.
Perfect, thank you guys so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Your roots go deep.
It's scary.
Clear to the bottom of the
Clear to the bottom of the river, right?
Actually, that is exciting. I'm looking forward to those items this year. I think there'll be a lot of fun things. Communications?
I have none, Mayor.
None. Our first opportunity for citizen input and community announcements. Generally, we have the yellow cards there in the back, but I have none up here, but I will open it up if anyone, I'm seeing lots of head shaking. No, nobody wants to race up here. Great. Moving into mayor's business. Like I said, Happy New Year, first meeting of the year for the city. Our year is off and running. I want to thank the Urban Renewal Agency, which is everyone up here as well, for our library conversation last week. I think it was a great conversation, and a lot of great work was done, and I think it was a move in a good direction for us as a council, and I know Councilor Dale has some things that he'll add, I'm sure. Wanted to add that between our last meeting and this meeting, a couple of the big things that had gone on, I had the opportunity to meet with Congressman Schrader when he was in town regarding two pretty big issues. One was regarding some import issues that one of our produce importers was having in town regarding some chemical levels on their fruit and having them be detained and not able to import their product into the United States. And so he graciously met with this business and a number of us in the community to kind of press upon him the importance that this company is able to get their product into our ports to be able to do that. And there's a bigger piece to it. I know the federal government's looking at a lot of future agricultural imports from other parts of the world where this could be a bigger issue. So it was a great conversation, and I think that he'll take that back. And the other piece that spoke to him about was transportation planning in our region and how that would affect Canby and our development as we grow as a community, both economically and truly with residential in the next probably 5 to 10 years. So great conversation with him. There's an update for the viewers at home and those here in the audience. We have a change. We had started our search for a new library director, and unfortunately that we had to bring that to a relatively abrupt end. We had two of our candidates actually decide to pursue opportunities elsewhere. So I've been informed by staff that we have a Plan B that's always been in place, and they're going to execute that. So you as a council should be getting an email within the next couple of days from Amanda outlining what that's going to look like and what that will be. I'm actually pretty excited about Plan B. I think it's going to be a great Plan B. And I think you guys will all get behind it as well. And like I said, we just had a work session this evening on ballot language for the Civic Building, which will be coming out to the voters in May, and Joe will be wrapping that up for us to get submitted this week. So that's all that I have right now, and we'll go into council liaison reports. Councilor Rocha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I have tonight is there was a special board meeting last night with Canby Fire to select a firm for fire chief recruitment process. And they had 4 firms. They selected Prothman, who was the same firm who did the police chief recruitment, and they hope to have the position posted by February 1st. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Hensley.
I don't have a liaison report other than, I guess, the community events. We, of course, went to the first Friday Light Up the Night, which I think was technically right around the same time as our last meeting. But then I also went to the Indy Backroads pilot launch held at the Place to Be, so that's a very exciting project. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from that project. The rest of the time, I was just off for the holidays with no city meetings and a little bereavement as well. But school board meeting tomorrow night, and we'll have a report next time. That's all.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see, our traffic safety group, we meet on the first Friday of every month, and I'd just like to commend the group. We're a dedicated group, sincerely interested in the safety of the citizens of Canby related to traffic safety. We feel that citizens should be able to walk their dogs or walk on the sidewalk or ride their bikes or even be able to go out and get their mail without being in fear of getting hit by a car. So we have a number of issues that we're working on. We're very passionate about this group. In fact, recently, Bob Backstrom and myself visited Fire Chief Ted Coons and Battalion Chief Todd Gary to discuss a number of traffic safety issues related to traffic calming measures, specifically bumps and humps. And they voiced their concerns over those. And so any recommendations we make, we want to make sure that they've fully signed off on them. In fact, they shared a story with us that was really kind of interesting, and some folks might take this for granted, but in Lake Oswego, they put the city manager on a gurney in one of the emergency vehicles, and they took him for a ride over the bumps. And he was about fit to be tied after a few bumps, because, you know, he said that if you have someone that's suffering from a hip accident or some kind of problem, they would just be in excruciating pain if they had to endure the 13th Street bump. So any recommendations we make related to any kind of bumps, we definitely want to get them involved. And I just want the citizens to know that we're not a group that just gets together, drinks coffee, and talks about the weather and sports. But I'll keep you apprised, and when we're ready to make some specific recommendations, we'll be coming forward. So thanks again, Bob. Also, our rodeo meeting meets on the first Thursday of each month. Wonderful group, and I'd just like to encourage everyone to just go to the website and visit Canby Rodeo. One of the fun events that's coming up that I just encourage the whole community to get behind is, and there's their Clackamas County event calendar, is on March 8th at 7 p.m. The Clackamas County Fair and Rodeo Court, they have a dinner and an auction, and it's just a lot of fun for the whole family. And what that event really is doing is a fundraiser for the rodeo court, because they go all around the state, they represent a rodeo, and it's a wonderful rodeo, and it's a wonderful event. I can't say enough about it. See, also, another thing I got to do was, I grew up in St. Paul, Oregon, and there was a really nice article in today's Canby Herald about the celebration. That's the oldest Catholic church in the state of Oregon, and it just celebrated its 175th birthday, and I was tickled that my wife and I got to take my mom and share in the celebration. It was wonderful. Our library board meeting met last evening. Dedicated group of people who are committed to providing our community with the best possible library for our citizens, and I'm encouraged by their enthusiasm. We've hit a few obstacles, but you know, they are a very enthusiastic group. And also Tracy and I attended the design committee meeting today at the city, and so we're full of enthusiasm. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Very good. Councilor Dow.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to echo your comments, and thanks to the commissioners and councilors as well for just a great URA meeting last week. I came away greatly encouraged, looking forward to some great success here in the future. It was really a great turning point. I know our city administrator was excited as well, and it was good. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. On the Canby Utility front, Canby Utility is again contributing green power to light our city parks and transit station. So we don't pay that bill. That's donated by Canby Utility, and it's using green power. So thanks again. I think it's the 5th or 6th year in a row they've done that. The latest reliability stats show that Canby Utility is much better than the industry average on keeping our lights on. And in the recent windstorm, we did have one significant outage, but the new switching, yes.
It's my house.
Councilor Hensley's house was out of power.
45 minutes, which is unusual for
It is unusual for us to have 45 minutes, but our operations manager of Canby Utility said that because of the smart switch technology they've invested in, that outage was reduced by 15 or 20 minutes. They got you online quicker, so that's good news. And finally, congratulations to Bob Cornelius. He's been reappointed chairman of Canby Utility Board for 2014. All righty.
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
Bob.
You know that with what happened, we do not discriminate.
It'll be somebody else's turn. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, being a counselor does not guarantee you power.
That's right. Everybody gets it.
That's funny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Parker.
My 3 liaison responsibilities, the Main Street Program, Historic Review, and the Bike Committee have not met yet, so I have nothing to report other than having met with our Main Street manager to talk about kind of a new program based on a Main Street idea that we heard at the Main Street National Conference last year, that your best customers are your customers who are closest to you, that they don't have to get into a car, that they can walk down the street. And if you draw a circle around downtown and start going out, you go from 200 to 400 to 500 to 600 people within a certain number of blocks. So we're talking about a marketing campaign to have employees shop downtown, and you'll be seeing that rolling out in the next few months. I think it's a great project, and I was thrilled to see in the Canby Herald a letter to the editor commending our Main Street program, that we don't often just see gratuitous thank yous for city programs, but it's nice to see another thank you, and I appreciate the acknowledgement. And finally, on the library situation, I was wrong. I thought the most important thing was to build a new library, and I was wrong with that. I think the most important thing is that this community proceed in a united manner. And I think we're on track to do that, both as a council and hopefully the voters will do that as well. So we have actually a better site, in my opinion, that we're exploring that really is ideal. And Mr. Mayor, I know in July you said that you wanted, that this was, Second Avenue was a good site, and you wanted a great site, and I was skeptical of that, but I think with the Cuthbert property down by the movie theater, if that is able to proceed, it is actually a better site and could be a better project. So I would ask all of those who communicated with me during the last round of pushing for a library to stand with me and let us try and move forward not only to build a new library and consolidated city offices, but to rebuild the bonds of trust and unity in this community.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, the Planning Commission meeting was supposed to be held on January 13th, was canceled, not due to lack of work on the part of the Planning Commission, but they just have so many other things going that they're putting their next meeting for the last Monday of this month, so hopefully I have a report then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all very much. Appreciate that. Moving to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of the minutes of the December 4th, 2013 City Council work session and regular meeting.
Second?
Motion made by Councilor Dale, second by Councilor Hensley to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the December 4th, 2013 City Council work session and regular meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none, passes 6-0. Great. Moving into resolutions and ordinances.
The first ordinance we have is before you for second reading. It's ordinance 1392, and it's authorizing a contract with Curran McLeod, Inc., consulting engineers for engineering services regarding 2014 wastewater treatment plant improvements.
All right, so this is up for second reading. We had gone over this at the last meeting back in December, and basically boils down to just improvements to our wastewater plant, so pretty cut and dry there. Is there any other questions or input for staff at all? Okay. We'll take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move for ordinance number 1392, an ordinance authorizing the City of Canby to enter into a contract with Curran McLeod, Inc., consulting engineers for engineering services regarding 2014 wastewater treatment plant improvements and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, sir. So it has been moved by Councilor Dale, second by Councilor Ryder, to approve ordinance number 1392, an ordinance authorizing the City of Canby to enter into a contract with Curran McLeod, Inc., consulting engineers for engineering services regarding 2014 wastewater treatment plant improvements and declaring an emergency. Kim, I believe we have a roll call vote.
Councilor Russia?
Yes.
Councilor Hensley?
Aye.
Councilor Coleman?
Yes.
Councilor Dale?
Aye.
Councilor Parker?
Yes.
Councilor Ryder?
Yes.
Great. Carries 6-0. Thank you.
Okay, the next item we have is ordinance 1392. This is adding chapter 2.90 to the Canby Municipal Code, creating an audit and financial oversight committee. And our finance director, Haley Fish, is here to present this item.
So we've talked about this during a work session and then at a budget committee meeting. And so I took what I got from those meetings and I have drafted what is here in front of you. The wording was gleaned from both other local cities and the white paper that I attached from the Government Finance Officers Association, which I provided with this report for your reading pleasure. And I think it's relatively straightforward, and it will add a needed layer of transparency between management and the council.
Yeah, this is one of the pieces that I know that you've been wanting to implement, and I think the council is behind on that, to create a committee to help review financial audits of our finance department, also to be able to, this committee, to provide recommendations to the council and to the budget committee on various policies and such, correct?
Yeah, so there's three main, in my mind, goals of this. It's the oversight of internal controls, the oversight of financial policies, which is what we've talked about a lot lately, because those will be an important piece for management to use in some of the other planning that we do, and then the oversight of the audit.
Perfect. Is there any questions for Haley at all? One of the big things that looking at the Exhibit A there, Haley, is just that this committee will consist of up to 3 citizen community members, the mayor, and then up to 2 city councilors. And the number of elected official members will not exceed the number of citizen members, which I think is a nice component to have there. But it's a smaller, nimble group that I think can work. My question, looking at the government document, there puts a lot of onus perhaps on you as the finance director to educate. Thoughts, concerns on that?
I think that there will definitely be a learning curve. I have some other resources from the Government Finance Officers Association, and we'll be working on some workshops to help do some of that training, and to outline kind of how I see it going over the next year. And I see that this committee will be more involved the first couple of years as we're going through a lot of these planning and implementation. So, but it's something that we wanted to put into the code because it's something, as far as oversight goes, that we'd like to maintain forevermore.
For our viewing audience at home, if they are so inclined and really want to be a part of this committee, how do they go about doing that?
You can get a committee application off the website and submit that to our city recorder. And we will start publicizing for that involvement in the near future.
Great. Anything else from up here?
Brian, let me mention that I am so in support of this, one, for the audit, but also for the financial oversight. For years, both here and at other venues, I've seen citizens sign up for budget committees and want to get into some of the questions that this Financial Oversight Committee will be looking at, only to be frustrated by the fact that the Oregon municipal budget law is pretty narrow on what your focus is. And it seems almost every year we have that, even members here on the council wanting to take a look at some of the big picture issues. And this fills in a gap between the council and between the budget committee that gives us an opportunity to take a look at citizen concerns, council concerns, and make recommendations. The budget committee is just too narrowly constrained for some of the conversations that I think need to be had as we look at ways to re-engineer and streamline our city governments. So really glad that you put this together.
Well said. Thank you, Councilor Tucker. All right. I will take a motion on that then. Thank you, Haley.
Okay, no one else is doing it. Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 1393, an ordinance adding Chapter 2.90 to the Canby Municipal Code, creating an audit and financial oversight committee.
And I'd like to second that, please.
Great. Thank you both. It has been moved by Counselor Hensley and seconded by Counselor Parker to approve ordinance number 1393, an ordinance adding Chapter 2.90 to the Canby Municipal Code, creating an audit and financial oversight committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none, it passes 6-0. Great. Thank you very much. New item, or new business item. A couple weeks ago, we had conversation, or a couple weeks ago, last month, 2 work sessions that the council did concerning landscaping, our landscaping code, and then another work session regarding the downtown 2-story building standard and floor area ratio. It was brought, or I was informed that the Planning Commission is already desiring to dive into the landscaping code, so that's why that piece was taken off for our agenda this evening. But I bring back to you, in terms of conversation and direction or pieces that we want to try to send or ask the Planning Commission and/or planning staff to look at. I know Brian Brown is here if there were questions from that or pieces that we want to be looked at. So I put that back to you all in terms of what spurred some of this conversation was, we got into the conversation of the library building on 2nd Avenue, and the question came up in regards to, are we able to meet the floor area ratio? Is it a requirement to have 2 floors or a second floor? And that created a conversation of, well, is it a 80% second floor? What's the parameters? It seemed to be maybe some shades of gray in that, and so I'm just kind of looking to you guys to see, yes, we want them to look at it, if there's specifics that we want them to look at. So, Councilor Parker?
Well, my expectation is that we're going to be seeing an increase in construction, both residential and commercial, over the next few years. And I think it's a good idea to take a look at the rules to make sure that they're saying what we want, that it accommodates modern building theory. And the only thing I would caution is that Planning Commission does have a pretty big load on its plate, and that in order to do the type of review that we're suggesting, there may be some resources tied to it. So I would just want us to be aware of that as we talk to the Planning Commission, and perhaps it might be appropriate for you to do that, Mr. Mayor, and see if there's a budget implication of whether we would need maybe a contract or a part-time person to come in and help at least read through these, bring forward some options to the Planning Commission. I've often said the Planning Commission is the hardest job in the city, and if they're starting to get a lot of applications, they may not have much time for theoretical questions on whether we have the right ratio of square footage to landscaping. But I think it's a good question, because we want to be a city that is friendly to business, that's using modern engineering theory, and some of our rules are a little old.
No, I agree, and that, I think also goes back to kind of some of the fundamental questions of how downtown is taking shape. Where in some, you can interpret this that, there's a minimum floor piece, but we have a maximum height that we can go to as well, and, I know that was one of the options discussed with, taking, a building to the maximum height that we go, and that turns out could be a 3-floor building, and is that still, a lot of work went into having that conversation of the downtown master planning and setting those heights and trying to move towards buildings like the Andrus Building and what we see with Countryside Living, is that, so those kinds of things we still want to pursue for downtown. Do we want to limit it to, you know, what flexibility that if somebody brings in a one-floor building, you know, is that a acceptable building, or do we want to keep it very much vertical and adding floors instead of, you know, so going up versus out? So I think that's a question, I think, for us here, that, you know, is that something that we still want to see for downtown? I'm seeing it, that yes, we're wanting to, there's a mixed bag of it. Mixed review on it.
Mixed reviews.
Okay. So I think for, you know, Brian, since you're here, as well as Greg, perhaps add that to the list of items, and, you know, maybe, as Councilor Parker said, if there's pieces that can be reviewed, if that's something that I don't, the workload will be increasing, I suspect, here, and if not already, based on the last couple of times I've driven by the planning building and saw, I think, every available body at the counter helping somebody, which is a good thing, but that means that sometimes important review items can sometimes fall through the cracks. So maybe you and I can talk about what that might look like, Greg. So, okay.
Michael, I don't know how old this is. I think this was looked at least portions of it, fairly recently, just shortly before I got here.
Yeah, I remember this being a topic when Chairman Ewert of the Planning Commission, I think I remember there was a couple of conversations about, it seems to come up when there's the desire for a new building. I know Countryside Living had some questions, and I know that there was another, or there may have been another project that may have not happened because they wanted a single floor building.
Think of any.
No, okay. I wasn't even thinking about it, I was thinking about a different one. That was pretty funny. Moving right along. We'll move over that one. So we'll talk further on that piece of it, but I think we can add that to the list of planning commission pieces as we move forward for downtown development. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Clint. You're a good man. Moving into the agenda, the city administrator reports and staff reports.
I just have one thing there. I've talked about the Ford Leadership Program in the past, and we missed getting the fall class, the spring class, by a few applicants. And we're having a meeting, I believe, next Tuesday at 2:30 or 1:30. I forgot the time.
2 or 2:30, I think is what I saw.
2 or 2:30, and I'll let you know if you'd like to come. And it's not to join, it's to kind of brainstorm on how to get that leadership class maybe started for next fall. So if you'd like to come, I'll send out an invitation to all of you. I've sent it out to several people already. There will be 2 RDI, Rural Development Initiatives representatives here. 1:30? That's Tuesday, next Tuesday, the 22nd. 21st, 21st, and 21st. And so there will be, I think, a good discussion on how to get this thing going. I think it's really important for the city to help expand your leadership capability. That's one of the things they're looking at. So, and I think Councilor Hensley and Councilor Coleman can attest to the program. So, anyway, I'd love to see it. Great program.
Anything else?
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Next opportunity for citizen input. Mr. Backstrom, please.
Bob Backstrom, 1395 North Birch. I'm going to speak to you for just about 2 minutes about the Traffic Safety Commission that Councilor Coleman mentioned earlier. And it's a pretty wonderful thing that's going on, as he said, and I just wanted to apprise you of some more details about that. That won't take very long. We are working on the south side of town, on the north side of town, all over this town. We have passionate people on the committee. One of the great things that has happened is that Greg has been at our meetings almost every single time, and I was on the past Traffic Safety Commission years ago, and that kind of city support wasn't there. Councilor Hensley has shown up, the mayor has shown up, Clint is there every single time. Ken, you've been there before. So what we see and what I'm telling people is that there's a real support from city leadership, and that makes the neighbors, our neighborhood association, they've met and discussed this, and anyway, people are feeling really good about that in the neighborhood. A little background, quick background. The latest study, back in 2009, it was reported that there were about 2,800 cars a day that take the territorial Birch Street bypass that don't go through downtown Canby, and most of those are out-of-towners who tear up our streets and don't drop a dime in downtown. One of the things we've been asked to do is to try to get some of that traffic to stay on 99 and spend some money at the gas stations and the stores and whatever. I think we're going to be able to accomplish that. We have many neighborhood concerns. We've met with the police chief, we've met with the fire chief, we've met with fire departments up in Portland and Selwood, trying to find out how they do things, how they get around traffic calming, what kind of designs you need so the trucks and ambulances can go through without having to be impeded. We've visited other speed controls in Mount Angel, Selwood, Tualatin, and Portland. We had a wonderful presentation by Redflex Corporation. They're the ones out of Phoenix who do a lot of the speed cameras in Beaverton and Milwaukee and a few other cities in Oregon. And some of the things that they could do for us, and they would do for us, because they make money on it, and they handle all the billing, and we're trying to get them to do a presentation with the police department, and the chief has said he's interested in having that. So just wanted to fill you in. There's a lot of things going on with your Traffic Safety Commission, and I'm honored to be on it, and I'm really pleased to be on it. The second go-around is so much more positive and optimistic. So thank you all.
Thank you. Mayor, I'd like to comment, just to let people know. I sent a notice to the paper yesterday, I believe it was. There are new signs at the east and west end of Territorial, and the north end and south end of Birch, between Territorial and Knightsbridge, and at the beginning of Holly Street that say enhanced speed enforcement. So I'd like to let people know that there's going to be some enhanced enforcement in those areas, because that's one of the complaints is speeding. We get that all over town, but as Mr. Backstrom said, that's kind of a thoroughfare through there, so we decided to put those up. I think police are going to look at that, and I just want to warn the public that, for those that are citizens here, that might mean a little more police presence in that area. Another thing I've done is applied to the state. You have to apply to the state to change your speed limits in your city. So I've applied to change the speed limit from Highway 99 down to Holly, from 35 down to 30. That takes 9 months for them to make that decision. Or we could hire an engineer and do it ourselves, but it's a 9-month. And so whether we do that or not, we can still go through that process and get permission to do that. So I'm letting that application proceed, just to let you know.
Thank you for doing that.
So,
One more, just minor addition. I mentioned to you that there were 2,800 in 2009. A recent study this summer showed 3,200. So that's an increase 400 per day. Now that's the increase. That's not the total going by. That's the increase. There's now 3,200 people coming down Territorial and Birch. So what you're averaging is 100 per day per year. That's the increase. So it's a pretty horrendous problem.
Well, I know that, Mr. Backstrom, you also head up the, one of the neighborhood associations over there. There was conversation concerning traffic with the Northwoods development and what that will mean as well. And, as they start moving into phase 2 and obviously subsequent phases after that. So I know that, again, those are concerns of increasing traffic counts and whatnot. And we'll, once the bridge is finished on the south end, what that will mean for 13. So we definitely have high impact areas And I appreciate you guys keeping an eye on that, and Clint, you as well. Thank you for starting and continuing that dialogue, because that's going to be key over the next couple of years for sure. So thank you for that.
Clint has been a wonderful addition to that community.
Well, thanks. I know if I could add one more thing.
Please.
Want to commend the police chief was at our last meeting, and, I mean, we usually fill the room.
Excellent. Great. Any other community input at this time? All right. Perfect. Action review.
You have approved the consent agenda. You've adopted ordinance 1392. You've approved ordinance 1393 to come up for second reading on February 5th, 2014. And staff will work on the best way to have the two-story downtown building requirement language reviewed.
Great. Thank you, Kim. And we do have an exec session this evening.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move we go into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660, parent 2, parent H, pending litigation, and ORS 192.660, parent 2, parent I, performance evaluation of public officer.
I don't believe we have...
Yeah, we don't, the pending litigation is not this evening, that's,
Already?
it's just the,
Then, Mr. Mayor, I amend my motion to be just performance evaluation of public officer.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second that.
Thank you. The motion's been made by Counselor Dale and seconded by Counselor Hensley to move into executive session under ORS 192.660. Was that parent 2, parent I?
You got it.
Thank you. Performance evaluation of a public officer. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Great, that passes 6-0.
And Joe can't vote.
I do need to read my the executive session announcement, correct? So the city council will now recess this meeting to meet in executive session for the purpose of discussing the performance evaluation of a public officer. The exec session is held pursuant to ORS 192.660, parent 2, parent I, which allows the council to meet in executive session to discuss these topics. Only representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the exec session. The council will adjourn to the City Hall conference room to hold its exec session. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the session, we may reconvene the meeting in the City Hall conference room and conduct any further business that needs to be taken care of. So with that, we are in executive session. Thank you, Canby. Good night.
If you get a chance to read the bi-monthly report from the facilities guy.
Yeah.